Hi, I'm Amanda Monaco. I'm an associate professor in the guitar department at Berklee College of Music. I've been playing professionally for over 25 years in everything from cabaret groups to 50s cover bands and large jazz ensembles. I played at South by Southwest, I played in Europe and Israel, toured the country in a van, done the whole spiel, and now I'm here to teach you how to play guitar. So this course covers a lot of really good stuff, from scales to arpeggios, rhythms, strumming patterns. By the end of this course, you'll be able to get around the fretboard more easily. You'll be able to hear new sounds that you can use for writing songs, or for playing guitar solos, or for backing up singer-songwriters. There's a lot of possibilities with the information in this course. I'll be playing all of this on electric guitar, but you can also play it on acoustic. For this course, you want to be familiar with both open chords and bar chords, reading fretboard maps, knowing at least one fingering of the minor pentatonic scale, one fingering of the major scale, and you also want to be comfortable with position playing. I'm so glad you decided to take this course. Let's get started. So in this lesson, you're going to learn how to solo on one string. You're going to learn 2 different fingerings for minor pentatonic to add to the one you already know. And this is going to give you a knowledge of the fretboard that's going to allow you to play in different ranges of the instrument and come up with some really cool ideas. In today's lesson, you'll learn how to play the minor pentatonic scale starting on the flat third. You should already know how to play the minor pentatonic scale beginning on the root. The good news is that you already know half of the new scale fingering you're about to learn. The scale fingering starting from the root includes half of the notes that you'll find in the next scale fingering. So we're gonna move our second finger to where your fourth finger was playing in the original scale pattern that you already know. So we'll move it here. And now we're going to play a minor pentatonic from the flat third. So you'll notice that all of the notes that you were playing with your third and fourth fingers in this scale pattern are now being played by your first and second fingers. You want to learn the minor pentatonic scale in more than one spot on the neck so that you can access the full range of the instrument. So whatever you're playing, if you want to play higher up, you're able to access that, or lower down, which we'll get to. But for now, let's just work on these 2 scale fingerings. The minor pentatonic scale is also useful in virtually all styles of music, which is why it's a really good scale to know. So now we're going to play pentatonic minor starting on the root, ascending, and then we're going to shift to the new fingering and play it descending. So this is what that sounds like and looks like. Shift. Now we'll flip it around. We'll play from the flat third ascending and then shift to the other fingering to play descending from the root. So for now, I'd like you to practice that, playing the pentatonic minor scale from the root ascending and then from the flat third descending, and then reverse it from the flat third ascending and then the root descending. It's important to practice with a metronome. You can find metronome apps for your phone, or you can go to a music store or online and buy a metronome. Make sure you go through this on a daily basis, slowly. Don't speed it up until you're really comfortable with it. So once you've accessed this new scale fingering, you'll have another spot on the guitar that you're familiar with. Let's learn the minor pentatonic scale starting on the flat 7. To review, the minor pentatonic scale has a root, a flat third, a fourth, a fifth, and a flat 7. And then back to the root. So the scale you're familiar with begins on the root. Now we're going to learn the minor pentatonic scale starting on the flat 7. Great scale fingering to know because it allows you to go lower down on the neck so you get some of the lower notes. The minor pentatonic scale is extremely versatile. You can use it in all styles of music. The scale fingering is actually pretty easy in the sense that all of the notes you're playing with your first finger on the scale fingering you know already, the one starting on the root, will be played by your fourth finger when we start the scale on the flat 7. So here we go. Flat 7 is a whole step away from the root. We're going to play flat 7, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, starts all over again. Root, flat third, fourth, fifth, and flat 7. And then backwards. I'll play the whole scale, ascending and descending. Let's put those together. So let's play the minor pentatonic scale starting from the flat 7, ascending, and then moving back to the original minor pentatonic scale starting from the root, descending. Now let's reverse that. We'll start on the root ascending and the flat 7 descending. When you're first learning this, take as much time as you need to shift between scale fingerings. It's better to do it really slowly and get the proper fingering and the proper technique than to rush through it. Accuracy before speed, always. Take your time practicing this. Use a metronome once you're familiar and comfortable with the two fingerings and shifting back and forth. You can gradually increase your speed, but don't do it too quickly. Let's look at the major scale in a way that you may not have looked at it before. We have this guitar neck, right? So we have a single string that goes horizontally across the neck. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually play the major scale on one string. To review, the formula for a major scale is whole step, which is 2 frets, another whole step, half step, whole, 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 half. Then we're gonna go backwards. half, whole, 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 half, whole, whole. What's wonderful about playing on one string, aside from the simplicity of it, is just how much you can do with it. And to make it sound like a song, all you need to do is add rhythm. For example, this scale is a C major scale. So we have C on the 1st fret, D on the 3rd, E on the 5th. Half step to F on the 6th fret, whole step to G on the 8th fret, whole step to A on the 10th fret, whole step to B on the 12th fret, and a half step to C on the 13th fret. Add rhythm and it becomes a holiday song. This is a great exercise because not only will you be improvising with it, making up melodies, but you'll also be learning where the notes are on the fretboard. You'll be learning that C is here on the B string on the 1st fret, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Backwards, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. As you learn all of your other scales and all your other scale fingerings, this is a connector. So it helps you learn the fretboard really quickly. So here's an example of what a melody on one string might sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna practice playing melodies on one string. Make sure you only play notes in the major scale. See how many melodies you can come up with. Don't be afraid to use rhythm and have fun with it. Get really creative. By now you're probably familiar with the minor pentatonic scale. Here's a minor pentatonic scale starting on the note C, on the 8th fret of the E string. We're going to take that scale and play it on one string. The advantage to playing the minor pentatonic scale on one string is that it forces you to make up melodies in a different way. Now let's look at the minor pentatonic scale because it doesn't just involve half steps or whole steps. It involves an interval known as a minor third, which is 1 fret bigger than a whole step. So we know that a half step is 1 fret, a whole step is 2, and a minor third is 3. Which is the first interval we find in a minor pentatonic scale, because we have the root, then we have the flat third, which is a minor third away, or 3 half steps. So let's try that. Just a minor third. Get used to that sound. You don't have to play it with your 4th finger at this point. I just did that, so you can actually even just move if you want to get used to the distance. So a minor pentatonic scale has a root, a flat third, a 4th, a 5th, and a flat 7. So we look at the root, go up a minor third to the flat third, go up a whole step to the 4th, whole step to the 5th, then we have another minor third in there to go to the flat 7. and then a whole step to the root to finish it off. So there are no half steps in the minor pentatonic scale. We have minor thirds and whole steps. Root, flat third, fourth, fifth, flat seven, root. Backwards, flat seven, fifth, fourth, flat third, root. Practice the minor pentatonic scale on one string on your own. Come up with melodies, play around with it, take your time, see what happens, and have fun with it. You might come up with something that sounds like this. You're probably familiar with the major scale, at least one scale fingering. Here's the major scale starting on G. We're going to take this major scale and we're going to play it in different keys. That was in G major. So if we move it up a whole step, now we're in A major. Same scale fingering, different key. Let's move it up again. Now we'll be in C major. So we're going from the 5th fret to the 8th fret. And now we'll play it in D major, which is on the 10th fret. When you're practicing these scales, see if you can use alternate picking. Alternate picking means you're alternating between picking down and picking up. So you'll notice that when I play the major scale with my right hand, I'm alternating down, up, down, up. So it looks like this. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now, it's really common when switching to the next string to do 2 down picks in a row or 2 up picks in a row. So focus on a real steady down, up, down, up. It's good to count using eighth notes. So every time you pick down, you're saying a number, 1. And every time you're picking up, you're saying and. And. So it'll sound like this. 1, and, 2, and, 3, and, 4, and. So you're doing a consistent down, up, down, up, down, up. So it's down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. You can even count out loud, which is really, really important. Most people don't do it. I suggest that you count out loud with everything that you do because you'll catch your mistakes more easily because you'll hear yourself say it. And if you play it wrong, then you'll say, oh, that was wrong because I said it correctly. So you can make the downbeats louder if you want when you're counting out loud. You can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That way all your down picks are louder and your up picks are quieter, and it gets you into a good rhythm. This is also a great exercise just to get used to playing the guitar, because you can take this pattern and move it up and down the entire neck. It's a great warm-up to just start on G. After you've played G ascending, you can move your hand up 1 fret and play the next key, A flat descending. Move up a half step again and play A major ascending. You guessed it, we're going up a half step again, B flat descending. So this is a great exercise just to get used to playing the guitar, but also learning the notes on the neck, which is really important, and just finding where all the different keys are. So work on moving that pattern up and down the neck, work on your alternate picking, and it'll help you get really familiar with the entire fretboard. Let's review. So we'll start with the minor pentatonic scale starting on the flat third, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, root, flat third, 4th, 5th, flat 7, root, flat third, backwards, root, flat 7, 5th, 4th, flat third, root, flat 7, 5th, 4th, flat third. Then minor pentatonic from the flat 7. Flat 7, root, flat third, 4th, 5th, flat 7, root, flat third, 4th, 5th, flat 7. We also played the C major scale on 1 string. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We also played C minor pentatonic on 1 string. We also worked with movable major scale patterns. G major, and playing that in different keys, such as A major on the 5th fret, So I'd like you to record yourself playing all of those examples using a metronome. We'll start slowly. We'll set the metronome to 100 beats per minute, and you'll give yourself 2 clicks for every note you play. It'll sound like this. As mentioned, that was 100 beats per minute. If that's too fast, slow it down. So now I'm going to slow it down to 80 beats per minute. So record yourself playing everything with a metronome, and remember, no speed is too slow. We're always going to take accuracy over speed. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to play major, minor, diminished, and augmented arpeggios all over the neck. It's going to give you a great knowledge of the fretboard, and you're going to hear sounds that you've heard before but never been able to play. And it's going to open your ears, and it's going to give you great ideas for both improvising and songwriting. We're going to start with major triad arpeggios. So we have a root, a third, and a fifth. I'm going to be playing the root with my fourth finger on the 8th fret, which is C. And then my third finger is going to be on the 7th fret of the A string, which is the note E. And then my first finger is going to stretch all the way over to the 5th fret of the D string, which is G. So I'm playing C, E, G. That's a C major triad. If I take that same shape and I move it to the A, D, and G strings, I get F on the 8th fret of the A string, which I'm playing with my fourth finger. I have A on the 7th fret of the D string, which I'm playing with my third finger. And then I have C on the 5th fret of the G string, which I'm playing with my first finger. So that's an F major chord. I'm going to move the whole thing to the D, G, and B strings, but it's going to look different because of the way the B string is tuned. So now I'm playing A major with my third finger on the 7th fret of the D string, my second finger on the 6th fret of the G string, playing C sharp, and then my first finger on the 5th fret of the B string, playing E. We get A major. And on the top 3 strings, I'm playing D on the 7th fret of the G string, F sharp on the 7th fret of the B string, and A on the 5th fret of the E string. So I have a D major triad there. So to review, I'm going to go all the way back to the bottom 3 strings, to the E, A, and D strings, and play C major. The next string set, which is the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings, will be an F major arpeggio. The next string set is an A major arpeggio. And the top 3 strings would be a D major arpeggio. Work on playing these with a metronome slowly. It should sound something like this. Because you use no open strings with these fingerings, you can play them anywhere on the guitar. So I would encourage you to try playing them all over the neck. That's just an example of what you can do. And you'll notice that you're going to find different sounds just by experimenting with where you play these arpeggios. But also make sure that you're keeping in mind what notes you're playing. For example, C, E, G, F, A, C sharp, E, and D, F sharp, A. Let's talk about minor triads. A minor triad has a minor third between the root and the flat third. And then a major third between the flat third and the fifth. You've learned that a major triad has a major third between the root and the third and a minor third between the third and the fifth. So all we're doing really is switching those intervals around. So instead of having a major third and a minor third, you have a minor third and a major third. Let's play C minor. We'll use our fourth finger to play C on the 8th fret of the E string. We'll use our second finger to play E flat on the 6th fret of the A string. And we'll use our first finger to play G on the 5th fret of the D string. So the arpeggio sounds like this. If we move that to the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings to play F minor, it's going to look exactly the same. So 4th finger on F, 8th fret of the A string. 2nd finger on A flat, which is on the 6th fret of the D string. And 1st finger on C, which is the 5th fret of the G string. So that sounds like this. Now we'll play A minor on the D, G, and B strings. So this is going to introduce something that you may not be used to yet, but it's a good thing to be able to do, which is take this first finger and be able to bend it to cover 2 strings. So eventually, with your fingers, you want the top joint of each finger on your left hand to be able to cover more than 1 string at a time. You're probably thinking, my finger will never do that. It will. It will bend like that. It just takes practice. So with the D, G, and B strings, you're going to put your 3rd finger on A on the D string. And then your first finger is going to cover both the G and B strings on the 5th fret. So it's going to be barring those 2 strings. For the top 3 strings, the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, we're going to play D minor, but we're going to go back to using 3 fingers. So your 3rd finger's on the 7th fret of the G string to play D. Your 2nd finger's on the 6th fret of the B string to play F. And your 1st finger's on the 5th fret of the E string to play A. So to review, bottom 3 strings, we have C, E flat, G. We have F minor, which is F, A flat, C, backwards A flat, F. We have A minor. And we have D minor. So practice all of these minor triads all over the neck. Now that you know how to play minor triad arpeggios, as well as major triad arpeggios, you can use them to play songs such as House of the Rising Sun, a lot of Beatles songs. They all incorporate arpeggios like this. This video talks about diminished triads. While they aren't used as often as major and minor triads, they're still really important. They're often found in the blues, which you've heard before, and they're great from getting from one arpeggio to another. They're also symmetrical in the sense that they are made up of nothing but minor thirds. You have a minor third between the root and the flat third, and a minor third between the flat third and the flat fifth. So on the bottom 3 strings, I'm playing C with my 4th finger on the 8th fret of the E string. I'm playing E flat with my 2nd finger on the 6th fret of the A string. And I'm playing G flat with my first finger on the 4th fret of the D string. So this one's pretty stretchy. So when I move this to the A, D, and G strings, I'm playing F with my 4th finger on the 8th fret of the A string. I'm playing A flat with my 2nd finger on the 6th fret of the D string. And I'm playing C flat with my 1st finger on the 4th fret of the G string. We get a little bit of a break when we get to the D, G, and B strings. We don't have to stretch so much. So A with the 4th finger on the 7th fret of the D string. C with the 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the G string. And E flat with the 1st finger on the 4th fret of the B string. The top 3 strings for D diminished look a little different because of the B string. So D is on the 7th fret of the G string. F is on the 6th fret of the B string with the 3rd finger. And A flat with the 1st finger on the 4th fret of the E string. So we have C diminished on the bottom 3 strings. F diminished. A diminished, and D diminished. See if you can find diminished triads in some of your favorite songs. Augmented triad arpeggios are the opposite of diminished triad arpeggios. Instead of having all minor thirds, they have all major thirds. And it's a really common arpeggio in television, especially in sitcoms, when somebody is having some sort of dream and they're off in a faraway land and you hear them go. You've probably heard that before. You've probably also heard them when you've been listening to songs. So it'll be that little sort of glue that connects the minor chord to the major chord. So let's learn how to play them. Let's start with the bottom 3 strings. We're going to play C augmented, 3rd finger, 8th fret, low E string, 2nd finger, 7th fret, A string, 1st finger, 6th fret, D string. C, E, G sharp, E, C. Next string set looks exactly the same for F augmented. We have F on the 8th fret, the A string, A on the 7th fret of the D string, and C sharp on the 6th fret of the G string. When we move to the D, G, and B strings, the shape changes because of the B string. So we're going to play A, C sharp, and E sharp with the 2nd finger, and the 1st finger again is barring 2 strings. You always want to make sure that these fingers can grab more than 1 string at a time. And they will bend like this eventually. So your first finger is going to be on the 6th fret, playing C sharp and E sharp. And your 2nd finger will be on the D string on the 7th fret. So you have A, C sharp, E sharp. All right. And then on the top 3 strings, the shape changes again. For D augmented, you have your 2nd finger on the 7th fret of the G string on D. And you have your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the B string on F sharp. And your 1st finger is on the 6th fret of the E string playing A sharp. So to review, C augmented, F augmented, A augmented, and D augmented. When you move this augmented triad up and down in whole steps, or 2 frets at a time, sometimes people use that in the blues when they're soloing. They'll do some sort of fast run over the chords where they'll go, or even much faster than that. And it gives it a different kind of sound. They sound very dreamy. So work on those on all the string sets. You can find arpeggios in the major scale. If you take a major scale and you build arpeggios using only the notes in that scale, you'll get major arpeggios, minor arpeggios, and 1 diminished arpeggio, and it looks like this. So I'm gonna play on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. I'm gonna play an F major triad on the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st fret. And F is the first note. If I go up to G, and I only use notes found in the F major scale, I get a G minor arpeggio. After G in the F major scale, we get the note A, and we get another minor triad. After A comes B flat, and that brings us to a major triad arpeggio. After B flat comes C, we get another major triad arpeggio. From C, we go to D, and we get a minor arpeggio. We go up to E, and that's where we get the diminished arpeggio. And then we're back to F. And now I'm going to play it backwards. So we have F major arpeggio, E diminished, D minor, C major, B flat major, A minor, G minor, and F major. So you'll want to memorize that pattern: major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, and major. Play that on all the string sets. So if you're on the top 3 strings, it looks a little different. So now I'm playing B flat major, because this is B flat on the 3rd fret of the G string. Just like with a major scale, when we number each note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So off the 1st degree of the B flat major scale, we will play the 1 major arpeggio, 2 minor arpeggio, 3 minor arpeggio, 4 major, 5 major, 6 minor, 7 diminished, and back to 1 major. So now that you've learned major, minor, diminished, augmented, practice them all over the neck on all of the string sets, the strings 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, and 6, 5, 4. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to play chord progressions found in many popular songs. You'll also be able to play a 12-bar blues, which is a common song form across all genres. You'll play these progressions using both open chords and bar chords, and you'll learn how to use them interchangeably with each progression. In this video, we're going to talk about two very common chord progressions, 1-4-5 and 1-5-4. I'm sure there's about 100 songs that just came to mind when I played those two chord progressions, but let's break it down a little bit. So, just like a major scale that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1, we can use those numbers and match them to notes and play chords. So the 1 chord in the key of G is G. If we count to 4, G is 1, A is 2, B is 3, C is 4. So we got 1, 4, 4 plus 1 is 5, so if C is 4, D is 5. So here we go. We have G, which is 1, C, which is 4, and D, which is 5. So I'm playing open chords, which means they're chords that use open strings. 1, 4, 5. Now I'm just going to play the roots. So we have 1, 4, 5. Now I'm going to play 1-4-5 using bar chords. So open chords use open strings. And with bar chords, you usually bar several strings with your first finger. It's almost like a capo. And the good thing about bar chords is you can move them all around the fretboard because you're not playing any open strings. Playing 1-4-5 with bar chords, I play G on the 3rd fret of the E string. I play C on the 3rd fret of the A string. And I play D on the 5th fret of the A string. Another popular chord progression is 1-5-4. So we reverse the order of the C chord and the D chord. So we go 1, 5, which is D, and 4, which is C. So this is with open chords, 1-5-4. I'll play the same thing with bar chords, using G with the root on the 6th string, 3rd fret, G. D with the root on the A string, 5th fret. And C with the root on the A string, 3rd fret. See if you can find two songs that use each chord progression. This video discusses the chord progression 1-6-4-5 and its relative 1-6-2-5. This chord progression is mostly found in songs from the doo-wop era. You can think, the movie Grease and Poodle Skirts and that kind of stuff. So let's get started. 1 is G, because we are in the key of G, so the 1 chord is G. The 6th chord, we're going to count G, 1, A2, B3, C4, D5, E6. So we're gonna go G, E minor, 4 chord is C, 5 chord is D. I could sing you about 100 songs right now that have that chord progression. You might be singing them in your head too. So let's do that again. So we have G, E minor, C, you may have noticed that I used 2 different open chords for G. Both are correct. You can play G using 4 fingers or 3, and both are acceptable. So it's really up to you. I'll play it again. G, E minor, C, D. Sometimes, instead of playing a 4 chord in that progression, people will play a 2 chord in that progression. It sounds a little bit different, like this. 1, 6, 2, 5. In jazz, people tend to use the 2 chord instead of the 4 chord. So in pop music, you're probably more likely to hear 1, 6, 4, 5, and in jazz, you're more likely to hear 1, 6, 2, 5. So now I'm gonna play the whole thing using bar chords. So we have G, E minor, C, D. Now, because these are bar chords, they jump around a lot. So G is on the low E string of the 3rd fret. I'm playing E minor on the A string on the 7th fret. I'm playing C on the A string on the 3rd fret. And I'm playing D on the 5th fret of the 5th string. So it sounds like this. Now I'm going to substitute in the 2 chord for the 4 chord. So it'll be G, same spot, low E string 3rd fret, E minor, 7th fret on the 5th string, A minor is going to be on the 5th fret of the E string, and D is on the 5th fret of the A string. So to play it without talking. So that was 1, 6, 2, 5, and now here's 1, 6, 4, 5. See if you can find 2 songs that use these chord progressions. This video discusses a very popular chord progression. 1, 5, 6, 4. This chord progression is so popular that people create entire jam sessions open to the public where all they play is that chord progression. And last November, I watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and I played along with the whole thing. And many of the songs had this chord progression. Songs from Broadway, hip hop songs, rock songs, you name it. So this is a really, really popular chord progression. Let's learn it. So 1 is G. Count to 5. G, A, B, C, D. D is 5. E is 6. And C is 4. So here we go. I'm sure you are hearing songs in your head right now after hearing that chord progression, but let's play it together using bar chords now. So we're gonna do the same thing. G, 3rd fret, low E string. D, 5th fret, A string. E minor, 7th fret, A string. C, 3rd fret, A string. Again. This chord progression is so popular, let's play it in a couple of different keys. So let's play it in the key of C. So C is 1, and G is 5, because we count C, D, E, F, G. Go up one more to A, and then go to F. So it sounds like this. C, G, A minor, F. Now let's play it in the key of D. So now we're going to be playing open chords and bar chords. So D is 1, A is 5, B minor is 6, there's your bar chord, and G is 4. So practice that in 3 keys. This week you have G, C, and D. Those are your 3 keys. Have fun with it. Let's talk about the blues. The 12-bar blues crosses over into all genres. It's something that we all have in common as musicians, jazz, rock. And we're gonna look at a very basic form of the 12-bar blues, which is 1-4-5. So it's only 3 chords. We're gonna play it using bar chords and open chords in the key of G. So there is a formula. We start with the 1 chord, and we play that for 4 bars. So I'm gonna play G for 4 bars, and I'm gonna count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm gonna go to the 4 chord for 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, back to the 1 chord for 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to play the 5 chord for 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the 1 chord for 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the 12-bar blues in its most basic form. 4 bars of 1, 2 bars of 4, 2 bars of 1, 2 bars of 5, and 2 bars of 1. Now I'm gonna play the 12-bar blues with bar chords. So we'll play G with the root on the 3rd fret of the low E string. We'll play C with the root on the 3rd fret of the A string. And we'll play D with the root on the 5th fret of the A string. Again, 4 bars of the 1 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. The blues is the foundation of rock. The blues is the foundation of jazz. Everything comes from the blues. There's variations that you'll learn at some point, but the basic structure is what we just went over now. It's 12 bars long. Sometimes people break it into 3 sets of 4 bars, 3 sections of 4 bars. So the one chord, the first 4 bars of the one chord. Measure 3. The second 4 bars consist of 2 bars of the 4 chord and 2 bars of the 1 chord. The last 4 bars are 2 bars of the 5 chord and 2 bars of the 1 chord. So that's your basic 12-bar form. Sometimes people add and subtract chords, but the 12 bars stay the same. So for example, if we look at our first 4 bars, sometimes instead of playing the 1 chord for 4 bars straight, people will play the 4 chord on bar 2 and then go back to the 1 chord. So the order is 1, 4, 1, 1. So it's 1, 4, 1. The middle part stays the same, 4, 4, 1, 1. And the last 4 bars, sometimes people will go 5, 4, 1, 5. So that's where they add the most chords in. So it goes 5, 4, 1, 5. 5, 4, 1, 5. So the blues with variations sounds like this. So it's 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 4, 1, 1, 5, 4, 1, 5. So practice this and memorize it. It's really important to memorize it because it's something that you can pretty much play with anyone. It's the one tune that sort of binds everybody together. You know blues? Yeah, let's play a blues. Okay, sounds great. So learn it and have fun with it. This is a review of all the chord progressions we learned, and we're going to play them together. And we're going to use our metronome that keeps us honest. So we're going to start with the 1, 4, 5 progression. We're going to play 1 for 1 measure, 4 for 1 measure, and then we're going to play 5 for 2 measures. We're going to play it twice through with open chords and twice through with bar chords. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do the same thing with bar chords. we're going to play 1-5-4. One measure of the 1 chord, one measure of the 5 chord, 2 measures of the 4 chord. We're going to play 2 times through with open chords and 2 times through with bar chords. This time we're not going to stop in between. Now we'll play 1-6-4-5 with open chords and closed chords. One, 6, 2, 5 using open chords and bar chords. One, 5, 6, 4 in the key of G. Okay, and finally, we're going to do the blues. We're going to do both forms, the original 12-bar form and the one with variations. We'll start with the basic form, open chords and bar chords, and then we'll do the variation with open chords and bar chords. 12-bar blues with variations. So that's it. If it was too fast for you, slow down your metronome. To as slow as you have to slow it down. And practice the exercise that way, and then work it up eventually. There's no rush. It's more important to get everything accurate than it is to get it up to speed. In this lesson, you'll learn that strumming pattern along with other strumming patterns, how to use them with chords, and how to use them with arpeggios, and putting them all together to create a song. You'll also learn a standard shuffle form for the 12-bar blues, which is a very, very common chord progression. So let's get started and try all of these new things. So at this point, you're familiar with the 12-bar blues. We're going to play a variation on the 12-bar blues. We're going to use a shuffle pattern. We're going to use rhythm. We're going to talk about a rhythm called the triplet. A triplet is 3 notes in the place of 2. So for example, if you're counting eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, you can fit 3 notes into those spots where there's usually just 2. So it'll sound like 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And we're gonna use a shuffle pattern that sounds like this. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. You'll also notice that when I play the shuffle pattern, I'm only playing 2 notes at a time, even though I'm counting 3. So it sounds like this: 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So one of the notes takes up 2 of those 3. So we're going 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So play it with me. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Now let's play it through the entire 12-bar blues. So this chord that I'm playing, or these 2 notes that I'm playing, make up the chord A, even though it's only 2 notes. We're using those 2 notes to play an A chord. So we'll be playing a 12-bar blues in A. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Now we're moving to the 4 chord. All you do is you take your first finger, which currently is on the 2nd fret of the D string, and move it to the 2nd fret of the G string. So then you'll be playing an open D string and the note A. It sounds like this. And we'll count the same way. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. The last chord we're gonna learn is E, which is the low E string, and then your first finger is on the 2nd fret of the A string, and it sounds like this. So one measure, if we count one measure out loud, it sounds like this. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So I'm gonna play the whole thing and you can follow along. I'll call out the chords as I play them. 1, 2, 3, A. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Measure 2. Measure 3. Measure 4. Go into the 4 chord to D. Back to the 1 chord. Five chord. One. Make sure you familiarize yourself with the concept of the triplet. One really good thing to do that I'm always a big fan of doing is clapping your hands and saying it out loud. Because everything you do out loud, you hear it, you internalize it, you're gonna learn it faster and it'll be stronger. So if you go 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Now, if you want to know the difference between the triplets and just regular eighth notes, you notice I haven't changed the tempo. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So it's a great exercise away from your guitar and then bring it to your guitar and play it that way as well. So work on the 12-bar blues, play along with the recording, slow it down if you have to with a metronome, and memorize it. And then find somebody to play it with. We're going to focus on playing arpeggios using rhythm. Now, this is something that often is overdubbed on pop records where you have someone playing chords. Actually, you'll often have somebody playing open chords, and then somebody else will be playing bar chords, and then somebody else will be playing arpeggios with rhythm. If you listen to some of your favorite pop songs, you're gonna find this. There could be up to 6 or 7 different guitars on there, but we're just gonna focus on the arpeggio part today. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some really popular chord progressions using arpeggios in a rhythmic pattern. So we're gonna play 1, 4, 5 on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. And it's gonna be one measure of the 1 chord, which is G, one measure of the 4 chord, which is C, and one measure of the 5 chord, which is D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. So that was 1, 4, 5. Now we'll play 1, 5, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. You'll notice we were jumping around a lot. You can also play them on different string sets, which I would encourage you to do. For example, you could play it all in this spot on the neck if you play a G here, which you'll notice sounds the same as, because that's how the guitar is constructed. That's just how it works. You can play the same note in 2 different spots, sometimes even more than 2 different spots. So I'm gonna play the same thing again. I'm gonna play it here using the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings. So that means my 4th finger is gonna be on G on the 10th fret of the A string, and then B is gonna be on the 9th fret of the D string, and D is gonna be on the 7th fret of the G string. So it'll sound like this. Again. Now we'll play the same rhythmic pattern using the 1-5-4 chord progression, all on the same string set. Let's do it again. Now we'll play everything in this spot on the neck, and I'll move the G triad arpeggio shape to the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings. Sounds like this. Try it with other chord progressions, different string sets, see what you come up with, and get creative with it, and see if you can apply it to songs that you play already. This video discusses strumming, which I think is half the reason people play guitar, because it's really fun to just sit there and strum and play open chords. It just feels good. Whatever you're gonna play. So, here's the key to strumming. Your hand should not stop moving. So if it feels awkward when you're strumming, that means that there's something going wrong. It should be really smooth. Basically, you should be able to just go down, up, easily. And I'm gonna play it without any chords. So it should be just... You notice how my right hand is just really easy. It's relaxed. I'm using gravity to go down. I know that sounds horrible, so let's put some chords with it. And I'm just gonna play quarter notes, because that's where you start, quarter notes. So I'm just gonna play 1, 4, 5, so G, C, and D, and I'm just gonna play quarter notes. And I'm gonna play it 4 times in a row. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if that's too fast and you're thinking, this is ridiculous, I can't do this, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna leave the 4th beat off. So you're gonna use the 4th beat to switch to the next chord. So it's gonna sound like this. 1, 2, 3, switch. 2, 3, switch. 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 Switch, and so on and so forth. It's more important that you keep a steady beat in 4/4 time than it is for you to play on every beat. So as long as you keep the beat, it's okay if you only strum 3 quarter notes instead of 4. Strumming pattern number 2 involves quarter notes and 1/8 notes. So we're gonna be playing a quarter note, 2 1/8, and 2 quarters. So it's gonna sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. You'll notice I went down, down, up, down, down. So you always wanna keep a steady down, up movement with this arm. Even if you just have to practice like this and don't play, just get used to your arm going like that, because it shouldn't be like... So we're gonna play the second pattern now, slowly, using 1, 4, 5, okay? So it's gonna be the same thing, G, C, and D, all right? 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, You'll notice that I'm muting the strings at the end, and I'm using this part of my hand to mute the strings. And you don't have to use that, you don't have to slam it down on the strings, because it's just it'll mute it out pretty easily. So don't slam your hand down. Make sure that you stay really relaxed in your strumming hand. We're gonna play strumming pattern number 3 now, which is a variation on strumming pattern number 2. And it sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So I'm gonna play that now using 1, 4, 5. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The final strumming pattern is a pretty common one. It's gonna sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you'll notice it goes down, down, up, down. But don't forget, you have to go down to come up and vice versa. So make sure this is still happening, okay? So you're gonna go down, down, up, down. And if you're counting that, which you should be, out loud preferably, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So now we're gonna play that with 1, 4, 5. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Again, 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. So you can play through these strumming patterns with open chords or bar chords. Either way is fine. We were focused in this video on 1, 4, 5. You also have 1, 5, 4. Or you also have 1, 6, 4, 5, 1, 5, 6, 4. So use the different chord progressions that you find in this video and practice all the strumming patterns with them. Be sure to use a metronome and be sure to count out loud, and you'll have it in no time. You can start a band. This video focuses on strumming chords and playing arpeggios using rhythm. So we're gonna use the strumming pattern 1, 2, and 3, and 4. We're also gonna use that pattern for our arpeggios. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So we're gonna play the chord with that strumming pattern. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And then we're gonna play the arpeggio. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So you get both aspects of how you can use that rhythm, both with strumming chords and with playing an arpeggio. So you get two different sides of it. And in fact, if you have a loop station or a friend that also plays guitar, one of you can play while the other one plays. So when you're by yourself, you can play both parts together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. The second one we're gonna play is the 4 chord, and we're gonna play the triad arpeggio on the top 3 strings. So it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we go to the D chord on the 5th fret, root on the A string. We play the arpeggio on the top 3 strings. So putting it all together like that, it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try it with another strumming pattern and the same chord progression. So this strumming pattern is 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And then for the C chord. So all together, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are two strumming patterns that you can also use as patterns for playing your arpeggios. Try this with the other chord progressions that are listed in this video. 1, 5, 4. 1, 6, 4, 5. 1, 6, 2, 5. And 1, 5, 6, 4. As always, make sure that you use your metronome and you're counting out loud and you're taking everything slowly. All right, you've made it this far. Congratulations. So now we're going to talk about your final project. It uses everything you've learned so far, such as playing a scale on one string, to playing the same scale in different spots on the neck, to playing arpeggios, to learning strumming patterns, so here's what you're gonna do. You're going to choose one chord progression, either 1, 4, 5, 1, 5, 4, 1, 6, 4, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, or 1, 5, 6, 4. You'll play that progression with the strumming pattern of your choice, and you'll alternate between the strumming pattern using chords and the pattern playing arpeggios. For example, so after you've chosen your chord progression and your strumming pattern and your pattern for your arpeggio, take one of the scales that you've learned, either play it on one string or play a scale pattern across all the strings and create a melody using that scale that will fit over your chord progression. So if you're in the key of G, you'll use a G major scale. To create a melody to work over your chord progression in G. So by the end of the course, you'll be a better guitar player and you'll be a songwriter, which I think is pretty cool. You did it! You learned more scale fingerings and you learned arpeggios and strumming patterns and how to put them all together. If you want to learn even more than that, you can go to Berklee online and check out the courses they have there. In the meantime, keep using your metronome, keep counting out loud when you're practicing. Accuracy is better than speed, and good luck and have fun.